out of the ordinary stuff. Today it's been Renekton, Aatrox, Scion in that order.
Yep.
Nothing really surprising in that mix, but let's check in on what the bans look like. Gwen, Sivir, and Ahri banned out by FlyQuest, as Vi, Kalista, and the Yorick that I just mentioned banned out by C9, now recognizing, hey, we're pretty deep into Fearless. This could start to be a Bwipo problem.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I am very much a fan of Yorick. I'm very much not a fan of blind pick Yorick, though. So it is interesting to see Cloud9 banning that out. And hey, if you're not down to play any of the counters, then it does make a lot of sense, right? If you're not going to be willing to bring those out. But Taliyah is up very conspicuously so, and is going to be grabbed immediately. When you're going into a game 4 and Taliyah is open, if you're going into a game 1 and Taliyah is open, boom, you are slamming that thing.
Especially, yeah, because, you know, it gets banned so frequently in the first 3 bans, all the early games. Then it drifts through here. Your answers are also not there. A lot of the things that have been played have been taken out.
Yeah, and I mean, there are still great AD pairings that are up and available. Things like the Pantheon that actually haven't been played. Even the Nefiri that hasn't been played. That could be a pretty strong pairing alongside it. The Pantheon, of course, going to get taken away. I think that is smart by C9 because to me, that is kind of that prime jungle pairing that has not been played or banned for that Taliyah.
I mean, it synergizes perfectly with the seismic shove because of the point-and-click setup, and it synergizes even more perfectly since they both have the semi-global ultimates to immediately turn any fight unfair.
It's also interesting because while it's not, you know, like a mid-jungle pairing, I do think Leona really kind of rises in prio because when I'm looking at a lot of these champions that have already been picked, a lot of the really good engaged champs have been either banned out a lot, like the Nautilus has been getting banned, or have already been picked. Nautilus and Leona are those 2 that are kind of up and available because you do want some sort of point-and-click guaranteed setup generally for the Taliyah to really increase the power that she does have going forward into these team fights.
And I've seen a decent amount of the Aurora into it, and I just feel like I always definitely prefer to have the Taliyah on my team, especially as it goes deeper. It feels like the Aurora, the breakpoint between having enough burst damage to still be an effective champion and still execute your pattern of play as a champion is a really thin line. We'll see if they can actually accomplish it here, though, because kind of like you're saying, the other pairings with these mid lane champs do matter so much. And grabbing that Pantheon is huge to have the pairing here to go with the burst damage and to have the setup.
Absolutely. I will say, you know, Aurora, I agree with you. You know, it often is hard to execute, but when you have those good games, they look incredible because this champion, all its damage is up front, right? If the QE hits, you throw down the ulti, sometimes people just disappear. They lose the whole health bar. But it's all about that execution because if you miss, if it gets sidestepped, you have nothing coming after it. And it is going to be Jayce here. It is Jayce blind, but it's Jayce with multiple protection picks available. The Yorick's already banned, and the Scion has already been played, which are 2 of the most popular counter picks that Bwipo does play into it. The AD Nidalee is available, though, so I'm curious to see, are they actually worried about it? Well, hey, this is one of his picks that he talks about really liking into the Jayce. Yes, the last one didn't go well, but remember the first time he played AD Nidalee, it went horrible. He brought it out again the next week, and he smurfed on it. So I do think it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but I do think it's possible.
I mean, it makes the Yorick ban in the first half make a ton of sense.
Yep.
If this is what you were going to slam, you don't want to have to deal with Bwipo on that Yorick. As the Ornn is now banned away too, you're talking about Scion traditionally being one of those things. People are fine playing into Jayce because who cares if you're down after laning phase? You can go low econ, be a tank. Ornn can play a very similar role. They'll remove that one from FlyQuest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, going to be trying to whittle that down. Yes, again, it is blind, but when you pick Red 3, you have all these protection bans, so it's like not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And I am very excited to see what Bwipo could cook up. They're going to ban out the Gragas as well, another one of his comfort picks that can be a good matchup into that Jayce.
And our FlyQuest worried about the Braum answer in the bottom side too, because they take out the Leona, and the Braum is kind of one of the other really good answers into Nautilus, and you can have a lot of power for the team fights as well.
Absolutely. You know, I do think it's a good shout out. With that Leona being banned, though, to me, this is like all the kings of engage in the bot lane are now gone, right? Yeah. Leona, Nautilus, Rel, Rakan, Alistar, to me, those are like the primary hard engage champs. Bard is going to instead be that target because they are clearly more worried about engage than the defensive powers of that Braum. And so we'll see if the Braum ends up being the pick.
And they're really worried about, you know, the cross map and the globals here. Aurora very good at flanking, making big plays. Pantheon ultimate, some split push opportunities available. Let's see what it's going to be here, though, for Cloud9. There it is.
Something worth noting, you know, they are leaving AD here for last, so to me that means it's a lot more situational. I wouldn't be surprised if they're considering something like a Ziggs that was banned against him earlier. He played it in his last series. So the fact that you're leaving it to 5th, does make me think, okay, you're really wondering, you need to see the whole 2v2. Can I get away with this? Can I punish something? Because generally speaking, you would otherwise always, leave that support pick for last.
And when you have a player like Thanatos on the Jayce already, you know that
Nocturne.
you will have physical damage.
I think we're going to get spicy top lane.
Okay.
We're going to get some Bwipo cook here, because if you're going Nocturne, you want to play heavy towards sides, you have Nocturne Taliyah, you need a side laner that is worth playing towards. So I do think we're going to get a carry here. Whether it is going to be something we've seen before or something new, I'm so interested to find out.
That's what I'm talking about with the globals. All right, what's it going to be, Bwipo? Into the Jayce. Okay,
that's not what I was thinking.
It's gonna be much more. Another tank, and more sustained up there.
I will say you can do, like, sometimes people like this in arranged matches where you do Q-Max and Comet, and so sometimes people can go that route. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes that kind of a style, or if he just wants to build pure tank. Obviously, Sion was already played, Ornn was banned away, so a lot of those big picks are gone. And seeing that it is going to be a pretty beefy front line here with the Cho'Gath, they want some upfront damage. They want someone to be able to deal with it. And it is going to be the Tristana as the answer.
Yeah, I think the other things they were hovering, like the Jinx and stuff, kind of would make sense from their perspective of the team fight, but then you have to play it into a Nocturne, and Jinx has no escape from a Nocturne, so much safer to have a Tristana. Plus, I love Tristana-Braum combinations. You can actually turn them into kill lanes. When you have a jungler that is a potent level 3 gank, guess what? Pantheon does have that. There's a lot of avenues for aggressive play for Cloud9. That is when Blaber has looked his best. That is when they have looked their sharpest.
And I'm going to be so interested to see how Inspired does this game, because I don't see any traditional dive buddies here for the Nocturne whatsoever. It's like, yeah, Nautilus can try to go in with you. Sure, Cho'Gath could try to flash into the backline with you, but you don't have that traditional diver with you. And so sometimes these games can become very awkward for Nocturne, where you're just kind of popping your ult just to turn off vision and just, using it on the front liner, staying by your team anyway. So we'll have to find out how he can do and if he's going to be able to really find success in the 5v5, especially where it can be tricky as Nocturne.
Yeah, and it depends on how good of a relationship do you have with your mid laner, with your Taliyah. Because if that Taliyah is confident to go in with you and do the...
You got to be homies, though.
Exactly. You have to be very close because it's way more dangerous for the Taliyah. Because when you want to ride the wall in, you want to cast your E rock field when you're getting off so that you can block the Aurora escape, you can block the Tristana escape as you're going in. If you guys don't have good timing, it looks very bad.
Mid-jungle trust fall. Will Inspired catch quad?
That will be the question. I do think Blaber has the opportunity here to have a very explosive early game. Nocturne generally goes for full clears, generally wants to just power farm to level 6, but Pantheon, I think there's a lot of openings.
So one thing that I'm really looking for here in this one, talking about early games, FlyQuest, it felt like last game was just hard forcing, responding to C9 stuff that was already a lost play when we were all expecting them to play a slower style, play more for the scaling that you had drafted. This time around, I want to see them rein in some of that wild decision making in the early game so they don't have to play from a 0 to 14 game point at any point.
So it is going to be the first ever international tournament in Canada. Both these Canadians here on your screen, Vulcan and Massu, fighting for the right to go there. Jojo qualified from EU, which is pretty cool, but definitely nice to know that we are going to have at least one Canadian player here from the LTA North that is going to be qualified and getting to play at home.
I want to see if they can get that aggressive Braum Tristana plays that we know and love. Bush priority is theirs.
Is also worth noting, it's going to be Spellbook for Vulcan, also Spellbook for Bwipo. In tanks versus range matchups, I think it's quite good, but we have Kangas standing by with Nuke Duck.
Thank you very much. Following the question Azael just asked, the choice of the Cho'Gath top lane, I want to get your thoughts as a coach as to how that top lane champ was pinched a little bit.
Yeah, so, I guess this finals I can say, basically we knew like this Jayce possibilities could be coming, so basically what you do is you just pick like a tank into Jayce, and then Jayce presumably can win lane and get ahead, right? So you just cover that with like Nocturne jungle basically, and that makes it so Jayce shouldn't be able to like make a lead 1v1 on side lane because he could die. So yeah, I mean that's kind of that's the comp. Like you pick a strong team fighter top, and you pick a weaker team fighter in jungle to make sure the enemy can't abuse him in laning phase, basically. So that's the plan. Yeah.
All right, well, bot lane's going pretty well for you so far. What message did you give to the players to get their heads back into the series?
I was a bit angry because we have scouting on them. We know when they're weak and we know when they're strong. And yeah, last draft we had a perfect situation to like exploit their weaknesses, but we didn't do it because we were getting excited because we were like winning our lanes. So I was mad about that. And then you know, Quad said like, "Hey guys, you know, we're better. Just like, you know, focus up, you know." So that's I was just mad. Quad was like cheering on the team.
All right, on Father's Day, a little bit of disappointment coming in from the coach. That's it from us. Let's throw it back to the casters.
What message did you give him? Well, I was mad at them. That was the message. But makes a lot of sense talking about Bwipo. Obviously, tanks into Jayce, and you might lose early, but you have the Nocturne to cover. I do think the extra wrinkle, though, is that, guess what? The other jungler can cover with his global, too. So you have to not only be able to win the 2v1, you have to worry about potential Pantheon ulting in and winning that 2v2.
Exactly. If your top laner gets such an advantage before the fight breaks out, and then both junglers match, can be very dangerous. I also like this point, though, about, hey, fight on your power spikes. Even if you're getting excited.
Whoa, speaking of getting excited, Busio with the flash over the wall. Blaber is in danger, but he defends himself well with the shield. A little more damage is needed. It's first blood for Inspired. C9 firing back with a kill onto him, though. A double for Loki. Zven's barely stayed alive, and Quad and Massu are trapped behind enemy lines. Loki gets him with a twofold hex. C9 is off to a 4-1 start.
And you can see Vulcan was almost jumping in his chair there in the player cams as that was happening. And Zven was literally jumping on the rift right here. Cloud9. Blaber actually gets jumped on first, but then they collapse. Look at the bottom lane heading up, and they can just jump over the wall. Both of them.
Inspired flashes to follow, but the fear tether had already broken. Zven is in there so early, getting a ton of damage done. And I feel like Massu here just kind of checking out a little bit on the fight. He was worried with that Braum passive hitting him, but then when you walk out of the fight, everyone's turning on Quad, and it's kind of just turns it into a 3v1 and then a delayed 2v1. Massu was not there to really contribute, but it just felt like they overcommitted. And when that fear tether broke and they couldn't get the insta-kill on Blaber, that fight went so bad.
Nice! Yeah, you can feel it.
Yep.
He was jumping out of his chair a little bit during it. We could see it live action. And I will just update that if you tell me that the Aurora is 3-0, then I change my mind. I'd rather have the Aurora on my team than the Taliyah.
Yeah, I mean, he is looking really strong. This is the Fearless health bars. These are all the champions that they have played throughout the split and how many they have remaining. So if it goes to a game number 5, still with a lot of picks available, obviously FlyQuest having more in the bag. You know, they have had more of these kind of niche picks. But I do think it's always cool to see as you get far into these series who has the advantage. But of course, we may not be getting to a game 5 because Loki has 3 early kills and Cloud9 are off to the races again.
And Zven on the Tristana, not necessarily a pick that you would be like, oh yeah, they've got the Tristana in their bag for bottom lane. But he getting one of those early kills was also very, very big too. This mid-prio though is a double buff with the 3 kills for the Aurora. Yeah. Cloud9, no hesitation, immediately had moved in, started it up when Bwipo teleported down to do their swap.
All right, well, we've got those double buffs faded away now, but before he lost them, Loki was able to chunk Inspired out with that very snappy Aurora combo that you talked about, Isaac. Twofold hex into the weirding, boom, the electrocute procs. All of a sudden, half your health bar is gone. Bwipo down here in this bottom lane now on the Cho'Gath. We'll see how effective he is at stacking up the feast, making sure that he has all 6 of those guaranteed stacks ASAP so he can be the front line that FlyQuest needs.
Yeah, and he used the first feast stack just insta on a minion. He is playing Spellbook here, so he's sitting on cleanse right now, so if there is any potential gank coming through, obviously you can cleanse off the Pantheon stun, potentially just walk that out. So that is going to be something pretty nice. And Massu has moved up to the top side here with Busio, but Vulcan's getting aggressive.
You know, Vulcan applies the winner's bite, but not quite enough to guarantee a stun from either side. Important to note, Blaber just hit level 6. Both of these junglers have semi-globals. Blaber is the first one to actually activate his, as Massu and Busio have to continue walking back up here. Massu down to 1/3 HP on the Corki.
This is why I love the Braum pick, you know, into Nautilus and stuff like this. Like, he's put so much threatening to stack up these stuns, Q after Q after Q hitting, and they're going to be able to keep that minion wave in front of the tower. I mean, there's no reason for Thanatos to let that freeze break up there, so minions just going into the dirt right now, golden experience right in front of them.
Okay, Zven answering the shove from Bwipo down here in this 1v1 in the bottom side. 30 seconds until the Void Grubs spawn. C9, they already claimed the feat of Warfare. They already have the first Drake as well. The early game certainly going their way. Quad hits a nice seismic shove there onto Loki. Hex flash forward from Busio, but nowhere near in the range he needs to be to try to follow it up. Inspired is going to move into the enemy jungle. He does have level 6 on his own champion now. Going in after Blaber. Fear Tether about to proc. Does find that one. Knocks the Blast Cone back as Quad shows up, and Blaber is down. Nice invade from Inspired and Quad.
That's the trust fall. I'm telling you, you gotta have a good relationship with your mid laner. Looks like it's pretty good for FlyQuest.
They have Nocturne ult, they're gonna dive.
Immediately Thanatos in some danger as Bwipo in the bottom lane has no similar problem. A 4v1 is easy enough money for FlyQuest. Inspired is very low from the turret aggro, so he's gonna have to back off, but Fly don't lose a man.
Yeah, credit to FlyQuest, they're collecting themselves. It is match point for Cloud9. That first fight went so bad, and they're able to get a couple kills back here. Bwipo does have the cleanse.
Yeah, Bwipo cleansing between worlds is enough damage, and Loki goes on a rampage. The Cho'Gath is not big enough.
Look at the reaction there on the player cam. You saw the frustration on Bwipo's face. He was not expecting that much burst from Loki. He's got armor, but he only had the Ruby Crystal there. No MR whatsoever. Loki just shotgunned him, burst him down so fast, and you could see was not happy about it.
And one of the most scary things is a Malignance early on that Aurora. Those 3 kills, it turns this champion into a turbo ganking champion. It is very, very painful. Loki, you can see, is the only person on the whole map with an item fully completed, and it is just the best item because you can tell the cooldown on ulti already so low. He's going to be able to roam around and continue to make those dangerous plays.
And it is this weird situation sometimes when Aurora gets this far ahead because it feels weird to have to just flash the first basic ability that is coming out, but when you get QE'd and it's just all your health, like that's what you have to flash, right? And Bwipo obviously wasn't expecting that much damage, didn't flash the QE. He just straight up died to it. If he can straight up die to it, so can Quad, so can Massu, so can everyone on the map. So they're really going to have to respect the power that Loki has now. He's so ahead of the pace of where you expect him to be.
Talking about pace, let's look at where everybody is on their item completions because there are a few fully completed already, just about 10 minutes into the game. Malignance for Loki, no surprise there with him having 4 kills. Yuntal Wild Arrows completed for Zven on the Tristana as well, ready to start stacking that. But on the other side, Experimental Hexplate for Inspired, since he's got 2 out of 3 of their kills, could give that Nocturne the opportunity to really be the X factor with a well-timed ult.
Yeah, it's the same idea. He's getting his ultimate cooldown reduction. Same idea as the Malignance here. See where he can actually utilize it, though. He's going towards the Grubs first. There is no flash on Jayce.
Looking for a dive bot, though. Look at this. They're again going.
Okay, Inspired is working on the Grubs alongside Quad. They're just going to be able to secure these. Easy peasy. FlyQuest has to know, all right, if we're up here, there's no contest for these. Cloud9 has got to be plotting, planning, scheming something on the other side of the map. So they tell everybody to fall back. Massu
it sounds so sinister.
It is. If you're the one, if you're the one in the 1v4, there is nothing more diabolical than what your opponents are planning in that moment. Massu just decided to leave the entire lane, not just the turret. He is going elsewhere right now, as C9 have lost all 3 Grubs, but they're mining turret plates, and it looks like we might just get a race for the first turret. Bwipo's going to try to walk up here, but he's got to be careful. Man, I don't know how close you want to go.
Vulcan just TP'd back, so they're just trying to go for this. They know they get feats if they get first tower, so they are really heavily committing to this, and it is likely to be very hard to stop here for Bwipo.
Yeah, I mean, they see the Nocturne and the Taliyah on the top side, so this should be the Dragon plus the tower. This is a lot gained for Cloud9 on their strong side. Bwipo sneaks back in as Busio is coming.
Bwipo is ghosting to the turret to try to kill the minion wave in time, so there's no chance for them to fully complete the kill onto the tower. Now, immediately, Busio ready to try to follow it up here with the dredge line into the depth charge. Zven keeps firing back at these guys, but the turret itself stays standing down here in the bottom lane. C9, however, will claim that second Drake for themselves, but the first turret went to FlyQuest on the other side.
Yeah, it was the delayed play. They were talking about it. Bwipo's like, I can one-shot this minion wave. You saw the AoE on the back line. He's able to feast on the front, and they actually get it done. Nautilus ult was also invested, so they really think there is some pretty high priority on the feats upgrade for Boots.
Absolutely, and I think that was really smart from them, you know, forcing their way in. They use the Ghost, they use the heal. Yeah, you have to spend some resources, but you keep that tower alive, you get yourself first tower. All of that plate gold is, again, you know, going into, you know, Quad and Inspired. Inspired's up 1K. Look at the mid lane gold lead. It's not that big anymore. It's 4 kills to 0, but he's only up 600 gold because of all the plate gold that Quad has been able to farm. Now, Bwipo's going to get more of this. We are close to a dead even game gold-wise, even with how bad that early fight went for FlyQuest.
Bwipo now flashing away, trying to get the distance to escape from Blaber. Vulcan's going to stun him up there with that last little bit of the concussive blows. Almost called a winner's bite, but that's the cue. As Bwipo continues his full retreat now, Thanatos has also been brought down here to the bot lane party. Meanwhile, FlyQuest taking the opportunity. They see that C9 constantly sends multiple players down here to the bottom lane. FlyQuest will do the same thing on the other side of the map as Loki tries to defend here at the tier 2 turret while Thanatos takes the FlyQuest tier 1 in the bot lane.
Yeah, they know. They've drawn their battle lines and they're sticking to them. This is your strong side. That is your weak side. You could sell Loki here. He knows there's a Nocturne on the map. They could go for the dive for me. He stays well under the tower. So their weak side plays safe while they get that turret to reclaim their gold lead. That being said, with all of our fighting over the attempt at the boots upgrade, Cloud9 only need one more objective to be able to actually fully complete.
Exactly. Even though they couldn't get the first turret in the bottom lane, Inspired still secured that second Drake without any fight. So now 2 Drakes for C9 versus the 3 Grubs of FlyQuest. That next neutral objective to spawn will be 90 seconds until the Herald is up and running.
Yep, and they should be able to do it. FlyQuest just trying to continue looking for plays, and Blaber going to get found here, but Zven is around.
Okay, Massu and Busio get a little bit of damage. Blaber's use of the Pantheon shield there.
They're TPing bot. They can actually try to go for
most
more.
of the damage. Thanatos making his way down to the tier 1 turret. Wants to try to get out of there. Has to flash away from the seismic shove, but now a TP is ready to arrive from C9. Paranoia placed there by Inspired just to block any chance of a coordinated C9 counterattack, and FlyQuest make their exit. Seismic shove again, this time only hits Vulcan. C9 continuing to walk forward and force FlyQuest out.
Yeah, Quad had actually flashed there. That time he does respect the QE from Loki, sees it coming over the wall, insta flashes, knows that there could be follow-up if that connected onto him. But a lot expended for not much on either side. You know, to take stock, we lost the flash off of Quad, flash off of Bwipo. There's the flash gone from Thanatos, from Blaber, as well as the TP from Loki. So a lot spent there. Oh, Bwipo's in trouble. He's got no help here.
Oh, boy. All right, let's see if he can try to get away from this one. It doesn't really look like it. The Rupture missing on Thanatos. Bwipo tries to burst him down, but yeah, there's no way to get him in feast range there. C9 pick up their 6th kill.
And that one's a little surprising as far as the break in concentration. They had been so good at sticking to, hey, this is strong side. We are respecting when Cloud9 have overloaded a side, but we just saw Cloud9 teleported Loki into the bottom side, and Bwipo has no tower there. So there's nothing that FlyQuest could answer with any sort of cross-map play. That is just an extra kill over.
And sometimes when you're in these weak side positions, it can kind of get a little bit mentally exhausting where you feel like you have to give it up, you have to give it up, you have to give it up. And then finally you feel like I can push in here. They're going to look for Blaber. Remember, no flash.
No flash on the Pantheon, but he's still always got that shield. Blaber's going to deploy it, but in a 1v4, you can't block enough. Bwipo takes the kill. FlyQuest pick up their 4th.
And he does hold on to the feast, so he saves the feast so he can have it for Dragon. Quad is going to answer topside. Bwipo has cycled through already 4, I believe, on the spellbook summoner here. He's been rotating through that pretty quickly, so is going to be having that cooldown getting lower and lower.
Okay, 5 stacks also on the Cho'Gath feast. 6 now, as he does go ahead and use that one early. There is 35 seconds still on the Drake timer. Looks like Inspired and Quad just going to go ahead and take their 2nd blue buff as C9 has a lot of men mid.
And the idea for Cloud9 here is if you can delay until Dragon comes up, Rift Herald's on one side, Dragon's on the other. You're the team that only needs one more objective for the feat upgrade that they've been fighting over so heavily here with FlyQuest. So then they'll have the opportunity to just cross-map.
Inspired 7-2 on Nocturne, definitely really strong on this champion. Also really want to draw your eyes to the fact that Bwipo has exhaust. This is always one of the key ones when you swap over to with the spellbook. And Loki, he is all upfront damage. So if he can time it, trade of flashes there.
Okay, Rupture hits Thanatos. Busio following it up as immediately Vulcan is just shredded. Inspired wants to go into the back line as now both supports are already going to be dead. Loki's in danger. He tries going between worlds, but he's only going to the underworld. Thanatos will go right there with them. FlyQuest just took the kill lead FlyQuest just got 4 for 1.
Loki tried to walk right through them there. He got annihilated.
He got destroyed, and his full combo was exhausted by Bwipo to boot. Bwipo silences him. He's in his face. They're pressing their advantage. They want more.
Zven is down. Massu on a rampage. Blink and you'll miss the whole health bar disappearing. FlyQuest will claim the delayed ace. They will claim a turret mid. They will claim a Drake for themselves. They will claim a 5 for 1 trade. That was a massive swing.
Will they try and rush the Rift Herald to still get the feats, since they only needed 1? Right now, I would assume Nautilus is going up to at least ward that Rift Herald so nothing sneaky happens, but here's the fight again.
That Rupture connects there onto Thanatos. Vulcan can't get the wall up until a little bit too late. They had already called that they're going full in. Look at this exhaust here. The ulti comes down, the QE even comes out. Well, he's still exhausted. He tries to go to the other side, but he gets burst down there by Inspired. This was such a good fight for FlyQuest.
Yeah, and Loki, you cannot go through a Cho'Gath right there. Or at the very least, if you do, it's going to cost you a lot. So Rift Herald remains alive. They actually had Busio go out there, defend the vision, put down the wards for FlyQuest. And now back out onto the map. Actually, look at this. Bwipo now attacking the side lane.
Yeah, now Inspired coming down to help his top laner. Thanatos in some danger, wants to make it a trade, but
How's
no
that taste?
shot, man. Bwipo taking that one.
Bwipo just bites him in half there, grabs the feast stack, and is able to get that kill onto Thanatos, attacking that side lane. Now, quietly, Massu getting very, very strong. 4 kills here on this Corki, and the mid lane gold lead completely gone. It is just 140 in the favor of Loki. Honestly, that doesn't mean anything.
The jungle diff, though, is getting like a very, very big gold difference here. This Nocturne is going to put so much pressure on the C9 carries. And when Nocturne is the biggest gold, difference in the game, how do you play the side lanes? Everyone who walks out to farm a side lane,
It's the neat part. You don't.
Exactly. Everyone who walks out to the side lane is like, oh my God, is Inspired coming? Is Inspired coming? Because that will be very, very dangerous upon 2-item completion. And he's already shown that he passed his trust fall with quad, so you get the Taliyah wall pressure to come in, and you can just not escape that duo.
Absolutely. And I mean, earlier we talked about, okay, well, yeah, but you have to deal with the 2v2, and Blaber's there too, but he's so far ahead of Blaber that you're going to win that 2v2 very easily.
Feats claimed by FlyQuest. It was 19.5 minutes into the game before we finally got there, but the battle for the shoes has finally been decided, and it's FlyQuest walking faster.
And honestly, credit to FlyQuest for realizing how heavily they should fight for the feats. I flash back all the way to them defending this tier 1 tower bot, tooth and nail, to stop that from going over to Cloud9. Winning the first tower race gets them that little extra bit of power now.
This is why this series has been so fun. It started out with Cloud9 getting 4 kills in the jungle.
They're
but
TPing.
They're fighting back in, and this is going to be a banger. Loki has teleport as well for the Aurora. Ultimate ready.
Okay, C9 thought that they might be able to rush it, but FlyQuest was ready. C9 still have the Otacon aggro. They've got it down to about 3/4 HP, but Bwipo is wrapping around the side. Quad sends in the Weaver's Wall, but he's not going to ride with it. Now Bwipo goes forward for the flash silence. They've immediately found the engage and killed Zven before the fight even starts. Thanatos can't find his way to the FlyQuest carries as Massu forces everybody else on C9 away. C9 felt desperate. They felt that the Otacon was the play, and FlyQuest knew exactly how to respond.
While Cloud9 were setting up the Otacon, Inspired was buying his second item. The Black Cleaver was completed. He annihilates Zven, and Bwipo wants more of the jungle.
Oh, a big hook there from Busio to continue locking up Blaber. No firepower from FlyQuest coming up behind him here yet. Loki wants to go into the back, find a little bit of damage onto Massu, who has to Valk away. Bwipo's going to be shut down there by Blaber, and FlyQuest may have overplayed their hand. Thanatos gets traded back in a 1-for-1, and now it looks like we are going to have the Otacon secured by Inspired as Blaber goes into the back. It's a jungler 1-for-1 trade. Everybody's dropping dead on both sides, but Quad and Massu look for a little bit more damage. Quad throws another rock, and Vulcan gets another death. Loki continuing to try to run, but Zven has already respawned. He rocket jumps forward, but he doesn't have enough distance. FlyQuest will walk away. There are 3 dead on both sides. It was actually a 4-3 trade since Zven respawned, but Fly get the Otacon.
Somebody get a cam on Nuke Duck. He said he was mad that they got too excited in the previous game. This one, they just had the Otacon. It is yours. They killed Zven, but FlyQuest want too much. They get too excited. They chase into the jungle. It And look at where Taliyah and Nocturne were. All the damage was still by Otacon, so now they're doing two things at once.
And look at the summoner setup. He has Smite and Feast. Just stand on the Otacon, it's guaranteed. It's not like it's a flip. You have double Smite plus Feast. You can kill that thing from such high HP. Bwipo definitely getting a little too confident there, chasing after him. Gives over some kills. This is where it got crazy because Blaber ults in there. Imagine if he steals the Otacon before he gets this kill. He gets that shutdown plus 866 gold. Got a kill earlier as well. So he is kind of back into it a little bit also. And we are just scrapping again. Let's go.
Let's do it. 3,000 gold lead for FlyQuest. Drake started up. Blaber going to go ahead and begin the fight on the side of C9. Loki goes between worlds looking for the damage here on a quad. Zipping and zapping back and forth. Quad takes a ton of hurt from that one as Massu is finally able to join the fight. Blaber re-engages. Bwipo here on the front line. Still tanking for now, but he will drop. FlyQuest lose the fight. C9 outplay him.
Bwipo just way out of position. Again, back-to-back fights. He's just walking in so overconfident. Yeah, you're tanky, but you're not that tanky. The Aurora is zoning your team off on the side. Massu's not even there yet, and he is just running into the pit here with no flash because he was on Cleanse Smite as his double summoners there, trying to get in range for a potential steal, but they're never going to let it get that low. They're just going to turn and kill you.
He's so focused on the steal. Look at this. Comes in again.
Look where Massu is.
Has ulti, has Smite. He just wants to steal it, but it's a good call to stop damage on the Dragon. They make the turn here. Blaber says, hey, just focus front line. And this time around, by the way, Loki on the other side, he did a good job actually avoiding the counter kill from FlyQuest while applying that pressure.
And I feel like you could just play it slower there as Bwipo. Your 6-kill Corki's not even there yet. Even if you lose the Dragon, you could win the fight and then potentially take more off that, take tier 2 towers and things like that. Instead, he overforces. That gives a potential soul win condition now to Cloud9 here. They are on 3 Dragons. They are on match point. Yeah, you're up 2K, but you lose soul. Who cares?
When you are in a high-pressure series, a finals game on stage, who will thrive in the excitement? Who will thrive in the higher energy? So far, it is Cloud9 making the comeback a real possibility. 3 Dragons here. Even though FlyQuest still have the gold lead, if you grab Dragon Soul for Cloud9, and it does feel like momentum has started to swing back in their favor. I mean, the Nocturne gold difference has been chopped down in about half here. So FlyQuest, they got to lock in if they want to actually push us to that game number 5.
Exactly. Got to play towards your win conditions, slow it down a little bit. Bwipo, I think, getting definitely way too excited in these last couple fights. And they got to be playing as a unit. The skirmishes, I think, are a lot worse for FlyQuest than the grouped fight. They want to be playing, as this squad here. And C9 definitely taking advantage of it, putting pressure on, forcing some of these mistakes out of them. And we'll see if FlyQuest can kind of button it up. They look like they want to play towards this Baron.
The big thing I'm looking at here, we got 3 fully completed items, including a fully evolved Muramana on Massu's Corki. It is massive. We'll see if FlyQuest can take a fight here as they're immediately starting up the Baron. Now, they were wise when C9 tried to do this with the Otacon, and C9 is going to be just as aware of FlyQuest trying to sneak the Baron away now. Quad throws out the potential there of the Unraveled Earth, but now it's Vulcan going to get caught out again. Trying to be careful here with the shield. The Feast just barely doesn't kill him, and now they're trying to turn the fight around. Bwipo takes a ton of damage, nearly about to die with the Cho'Gath here, and he can't get back over the wall. FlyQuest came so close to finding a pick, but close isn't good enough. Bwipo dies again.
Yeah, Bwipo dies again there, and Inspired used the Nocturne ulti for cover. I don't even think he actually got to reactivate it for damage, so now C9, they have TP Vulcan back, and they're fighting!
Yeah, Blaber ready to keep pushing forward with Vulcan right behind him. Massu's got to be a little bit careful with these accelerated shot blasts from Thanatos. Inspired is already down. Another kill goes over as Zven kills Busio. He hits him with his trademark emote, and C9 have taken control of the game.
And that's going to be Baron for Cloud9 as well. Flowers, the comeback is just about complete for C9.
No chance of a steal. No chance to redeem themselves for this mistake. FlyQuest are hurting after that one as C9 stand with Baron with Soul Point. There now could be possibly a bit of a problem for Thanatos, but he's the only one. Should be able to pick him up here on the side of FlyQuest. Bwipo will get that one for the Feast, but it is a small consolation prize in the wake of what FlyQuest just lost.
Yeah, Cloud9 now pretty much equalizing the gold there across the board. We go back to this initial play where, again, they're turning off the Baron. They could have just been happy with the TP. Instead, they're going for this engage. You know, Bwipo popping the Ghost, running into the back line. But where are the carries? No one is there around. You have to look where Quad and Massu, and they are not able to follow up. Well, everyone from C9 is just pummeling Bwipo, and you have so much space created by Vulcan. He lives with low HP, and then he swaps to the Spellbook TP. He TPs right back into the play and re-engages.
Exactly, they go for it. Blaber leads the way on the charge. Here comes Vulcan with his teleport. He jumps in with the unbreakable to close the gap here, and then all of your DPS gets to follow up. Thanatos and Zven just free firing here, and they get the big pop. Zven eating up. The Tristana here will be a problem.
And I don't think Inspired tracked that it was actually Vulcan TPing back in, because he was fighting, you know, in that side brush with Blaber, knowing he had the HP advantage in the 1v1, but didn't track that Vulcan was there.
So much frustration on the face of Bwipo. You can see this game. Now, FlyQuest, they've got 7 seconds until this soul spawns. They do not want to give Ocean Soul over to C9. Control wards from both teams in the ocean brushes beside the Drake pit. Bwipo here on the front line. Potential Hex Flash over the wall from Busio, but it's not going to find anything. Bwipo takes a little bit of damage, but nothing crazy here just yet. Keep your eyes on Inspired and Blaber. Let's see where these ultis try to enter for the junglers. Loki looking for a wraparound on the other side of the fight. This pincer attack could be huge. Quad is onto the idea that he might be over there. Throws some rocks into the grass as Loki is now spotted and marked by Inspired, but that does mean that the Nocturne will have to use his ultimate to try to get the distance into the Drake if they want to smite fight for it. Blaber's already on top of the thing. Inspired goes in after Loki. They're trying to target the enemy mid laner instead, and Loki is already shut down. C9, massive 3-man shove coming out of Quad. The Taliyah to shove them all straight into the grave. FlyQuest with an ace for one, with a quadra for Massu, with a march down mid lane.
They're looking to end the game. Off of that, the Quad Father comes up huge, and Massu grabs the quadra. Bwipo is tanking the towers. They want to send us to a game 5.
FlyQuest make the call. They catch the carry, and then they slam the fight. They'll march straight down, unimpeded, right to the enemy nexus. Nobody on Cloud9 is going to be alive to stop them in time. And just like last week, C9 and FlyQuest are going the distance. It's time for Silver Scrapes.
Let me hear ya! Silver Scrapes again for FlyQuest versus Cloud9. These teams always going the distance.
That was crazy. What an engage there. Inspired, flashing over the wall to keep the fear tether onto Loki, setting it up. Massu full faith. You talk about a trust fall. He is going into the pit on top of the Aurora to finish him off.
You already heard it. It's time to hear it again. We're headed for game 5. Cue up the Silver Scrapes.